I believe the hope we have for this world is directly correlated to how often we allow ourselves to dream. And frankly, I'm fucking over people putting dreams in boxes of what's realistic or sensible or practical when we'd never ask that of hope. I know you feel tired. I do too. We're doing it anyway. A podcast for tired dreamers, unpacking the expectations, the conditioning, the fear and shame alongside other cages we may not yet know we're living inside. By the way, I'm Cait. Let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the She's Hungry podcast. I don't know why I'm doing that, honestly. It's been a weird week. Well, last week. Yeah. I just want to be completely honest and upfront and say, posting last week's episode, I was so nervous and I was so scared. But we're in our unapologetic, this is who we are, this is how my brain works, and I want people to see me era. So thank you for all of the support. And yeah, I feel still like a vulnerability hangover, but large in part much more seen, and it just feels like a kind of a weight has been lifted off my chest, because now it's like, hey guys, guess what? I'm actually a weirdo. But it's cool because everything I said is it's fun and exciting because it's true. About the energetics of the world and things like that. It's all just true, and I really, really believe that, the limitations that our society puts inside of or puts on us are, it's just like the things that our body is carrying around, but our soul doesn't know judgment. Our soul doesn't know good or bad or otherwise. It just knows essentially the purpose that you feel inside of you. And I also, to speak more on that, about a sense of purpose or like purpose, I think that there's a lot of wow, I just like lost the train of thought altogether. I don't even know where it went. It was like it just completely left through door left. That was my ear. Let me see if I can pick it up. Essentially, I just think it's okay to take a break from healing. From a person that, excuse me, quite literally, you got a taste of what my brain is quite literally like, almost nonstop all the time last episode. Trust me when I say I really, really need, or I consciously make the effort to take breaks in this healing journey. I was even recently thinking about, giving myself a little bit more time between my therapy sessions. Right now we're about at like 3-ish weeks, because, that's the frequency that has been supportive for me up until now. But now I'm like, I think I could go maybe at like a month and a half between sessions, simply because I'm like putting out a lot and I'm supporting people in a different way. And that requires a lot of me energetically. You see that word? See what we're doing right there? Energetically. And therapy is, quite literally changed my entire life, for the better. Right next to, coaching and working with my coaches, the people that I have been mentored by and things like that. And it's been transformative. And also it's like therapy requires you to, dig through all of the stuff that is, wounded from your past, so that, your current self can release and let go and move forward. And, then working with coaches, you take what you have in this current chapter, and you create something really beautiful with it. And all of that takes like a lot of energy. Not to mention then, whatever it means for you to take care of yourself, and whatever it means for you to like show up for your people and hang out with your people, like joy, play, fun. I'm sure some of you are sitting there saying, what's that? But that's like exactly my point is like, it's okay to know that you have stuff to work on and say, I just need to put down healing for right now. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I think that it needs to be said. It's like, I'm just putting this down. Also, I think that there's something else. The other day I was talking to a friend of mine who is doing so much work on herself and taking, accountability and responsibility for how she is, processing her emotions and opening herself up to process her emotions. And, there's like I don't want to call it like a shame, but I think it's like a stigma around the fact that, um, what is like, that quote by Maya Angelou, like when we know better, we do better. Sometimes I know better and I just choose to not do better. And I don't think that's human. Like, let's give ourselves some grace and let's give ourselves a break. And sometimes I don't want to be the bigger person. And I think that's all like contextual for how harmful that choice is. But at the end of the day, I personally think if there's a sense of awareness around your choices, and sometimes it just takes too much energy to be the bigger person, then just be petty. Who cares? Like, throw a tantrum. It's all right. Like, as long as it's not harming anyone, then, because like no violence, like take no shit spirit. What is that? What is the thing that I say? Um, it's a do no harm. No, take no shit attitude. Do no harm spirit. That's my life motto. So like, do no harm at the end of the day, and also like everybody's gonna be fine if you just don't take the high road and you want to be petty. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes we just need that. We're humans and it's all a process. I'm just looking out the window right now if it sounds like my like thoughts are trailing off, and it's fucking snowing again. And I'm here in Bend, Oregon right now, and I'm just not okay with it. I'm learning a lot. Maybe this is something that somebody could hear too, is like I'm learning a lot about bringing awareness to what I allow to affect me. And there's a really, really beautiful lesson in here about our personal tolerances. Your life is what you tolerate. And nobody is going to baby you about, and nobody's going to give you a fucking award. Here, this is also something that needs to be said. Here we go. The advice from a projector that you never asked for. No one is giving you an award at the end of this thing, this group project called life, for suffering, for hating what you do, for like spending so much time inside of like your own misery, or like a job you hate, or a relationship that's awful. Like, no one is giving you an award for that. No one. Absolutely no one. You get nothing other than a life that's like, just like, I understand. I get it. Fear. I get it. It's a powerful bitch. She's a powerful bitch. But it is quite literally no reason to hope that there's a consolation prize at the end of it for living a life of suffering. It's just not. It's just not. And recently, I had this very powerful visual. That's cute. Visualization exercise where, going back to the beginning of this topic where I talk about we can take a break from healing. I've been using this tool inside of therapy that I've actually kind of, morphed into a concept of building in my program called Unearthing the Reframework. We talk about a tool that I originally learned in therapy called the internal family systems, but I actually turn it into like how to create essentially an oracle spirit guide team for yourself, and like how do we access them, and opening these portals to these people, to these oracles and the values that you believe that you want to infuse these oracles with are directly the values that you call on when you want to access your highest self, so that's how you build the bridge between you and, like, that's how you build the portal, is that when you can fully embody these values that make you tap into your highest self and make you feel proud to be who you are. That's directly how you align yourself with that frequency to access that your spirit guide team and the oracles that represent your spirit guide team. Anyway, but so recently I've been doing a lot of channeling, a lot of spiritual work in that sense, and I've been doing a lot of meditation and working on opening these portals, and the wildest thing happened. So I was sitting there doing this meditation or doing this visualization exercise, and again, this internal family system tool that I've been using in therapy has allowed me to have access to the past versions of me, and the past versions of me that have been subconsciously wounded or, traumatized or hurt in some way, that through the triggers of life, those feelings where, like, you have anxiety or you're sweaty or whatever, these, like, visceral reactions that we have are normally due to, a story that we have, or like a thing that we've, it's a reaction. It's a reaction to what? To the thing that's happening. But why is this thing creating this reaction? Probably due to something that, transpired in your past, that even subconsciously it still lives in there. And I lost my train of thought. Wait, no, I've got it. And so I was sitting there in this therapy session, or I'm sitting, no, okay, let me just calm down a second. I get so excited about this. And so in therapy, I've gotten to be able to go on this plane of existence where I get to sit next to these, versions of myself, my 12-year-old self, my 18-year-old self, even my 26-year-old self. And I get to listen to what they need to tell me, because they were never, heard, seen, or valued at that age for what needed to be expressed. And it left like a mark inside of me that when things in life happen, it triggers their, those, like, versions of me inside, and they start screaming, and it's like the reaction to things, fight, flight, freeze, that whole thing. And so, but I've been working with them so, like, intensely in therapy these past couple of months, and I had this visualization. I was actually sitting in a coffee shop when this happened, and if anybody was sitting in Lone Pine with me while this happened, you probably thought, like, I was on mushrooms or something. But truly, it was like a transcendental state where I was then inside this meditation so deeply that I was all of a sudden in, like, a really, really, really dark room. It was completely black. I couldn't see, like, the hand in front of my face. And then all of a sudden this spotlight went on, and it illuminated this big, tall stainless steel cage around me. And I'm sitting there very confused. Like, first of all, where the fuck am I? Where does my brain go? But second of all, it's like, why the hell am I in a cage in a dark room in like a spotlight? Like, think about, like, an interrogation spotlight is now shining down on this cage. And then, like, as my eyes start to adjust, I see all of these versions of me outside of this cage. And some of them are looking at me, my 6-year-old self, my 12-year-old self, and there's a 14-year-old self in there. There's a 26-year-old self out there. Like, all of these versions of me, they're either looking like, oh my God, like, we've been found out, or like some of them are snickering or whatever. And I actually think it's really powerful that I kind of want to read, the journal passage that I actually wrote about this, and it might take me a second to find it. So just bear with me. But it was a very powerful experience, because I'm, like, completely dumbfounded because you think to yourself, okay, well, I'm in therapy. These tools are helping me process. I really, it's been a hugely beneficial tool on levels that I can't even begin to describe, to be honest, for me and processing and moving through things, because there's something to be said about, you know, pulling your feelings outside of yourself, or pulling these experiences outside of yourself and being able to look at them. And the best way that I've ever been able to not just look at like trauma and my fear, but also my hopes and dreams and aspirations is to really, some people do this through journaling. I do this heavily through journaling. But also because I've done it so long and so often that now I'm kind of able to this might sound a little bit crazy, but like essentially sit and have a conversation with myself, about what's coming up and what needs to be worked through and what's happening for me, based on these reactions and things like that. And so something that I found it perfect. I'm screenshotting it because it's in an app and I don't want that app to close. Okay, let me go find what I'm doing. Sometimes I have to talk to myself in order for me to. So, essentially in this is, so like some of these people were mad at me, like I forgot about them or something, but what I didn't realize is that because I'm also an empath, I was reinterpreting the stories and feelings and trauma back into my current body. So think of it this way, because I'm such a deeply intuitive and empathic person, and I know that there's a ton of people that listen to this show that also can resonate with that even so, because I was sitting next to these in this, this transcendental plane, on the subconscious plane, I was sitting next to these old versions of me. It was almost like I was reabsorbing the trauma, or the responsibility even of the trauma that they went through. And I think that it was causing me a lot of pressure to perform and to, get it right and do justice for them. So I was essentially living my life at that at this time. And this is just a couple of weeks ago, but I was living a lot of these, I was repeating a lot of these patterns and cycles because I was allowing, and I didn't even know it, but I was allowing the repeat of these patterns to happen because I was living inside of a reaction to the realization of what these versions of me were experiencing again, because I was sitting in space with them, like whatever you want to call it, like my soul was in space with them. And so it was just reabsorbing all of this trauma. And so this, let me go to the next part. And so I realized, as I'm sitting there inside of this meditative state, once I got to witness the visual of what was happening here, I'm sitting there, quite literally trying to figure out what the fuck is happening. And I'm not talking about like how I'm ended up in this state, but just like how am I feeling what I'm feeling about these versions of myself, and why are these versions of myself that are outside this cage, like why did they put me back in a cage? Why are some of them mad at me? Why are some of them look like they've been caught in the act of something? And I realized that they want, like I think that there's a certain aspect of wanting to keep, like, your trauma wants to keep you suffering so that it can stay relevant. And I'm going to say that again. So your trauma, things that you've been through, they want to keep you suffering. They want to keep you held hostage in your own body because they want to stay relevant. And I think that might be true, because if we hold on to the relevance of our trauma, that's fear's last stand. Think about it. If we keep our trauma relevant, if we hold it close to our chest and we keep it relevant in our life, then it's always going to keep us a little bit scared of going back to that place, or just like knowing that that's what we've been through or whatever. It's like that's not the integration part of it. Because I think true integration of that would then be, you know, it becoming so, you becoming so aware of that trauma that I think in my journal, I wrote, I think it's twofold. One being a concept I'm exploring recently, which is about the value our society places in collective suffering. Like misery loves company, but elevated. Like if people around you are, quote, doing better than you, it instantly triggers othering because of the distance in comparison. Whether that othering is about your own judgment on yourself or a judgment about who they're becoming is neither here nor there, but it exists nonetheless. Alongside that is the basic need of belonging, which I think is like the part that I was just talking about, is if those stories inside me no longer hold me hostage, then where do I belong amongst a society that would rather talk about their pain and fear than talk about hope, love, and possibility? Does that, like, just think about that. It's like if we hold our trauma close to us and we have, trauma bonding and, like I said, this misery loves company thing, and we walk around, and I hate this, but I don't know a statistic, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was like very, very big and like a tall order. But like how many people just like they spend 8 hours at a job that they hate. And so at the end of the day, when you get together with, and if most people do that, when we get together, we all get to complain about our life, and none of us have to take accountability for changing it because we all live inside a similar story. And so if you are trying, think about it. If you are trying to then improve your life, you're trying to, think about the things that you've been through differently, then you're extending yourself outside of what this dynamic and this ecosystem of a friend group or whomever it is, people, workplace employees, like I don't know, but you're trying to integrate what you've been through in a different way. And so it directly threatens your sense of belonging inside of this ecosystem, because we live in a society where this ecosystem and this dynamic inside of this ecosystem is very common. And so it threatens your fear of belonging. And so when we hold these trauma responses and these fear responses so close to us, and we use them to shape our identity, and we think, oh, I'm this way because this thing happened to me, and I'm this way because this thing happened to me, which is all fair and well and good, but that's only half the process, because the second half of the process is integrating that with so much knowing and so much clarity that you get a choice on the other side of it. Does this work for me? Does this not work for me? And then the information about what you've been through becomes no more of an effect on you than if you were reading information on a page of a magazine. Like, hey guys, full stop. I was like, and I also, before I say this, I also want to say it's it's not a linear experience. It's not like, so I'm going to look at this trauma, I'm going to literally submerge myself in it so deeply that when I come out the other side, inside of a choice, that this thing that happened to me no longer affects me. That's not how it works. But because you've, I think about it sometimes like flooding therapy, like you flood yourself so much with the exposure to the fact that this happened that you almost become, and I'm like, it's going to feel like you're desensitized to the experience, but in fact, it's like, it's just fully integrated in there. It's not that the emotions don't exist, but that your relationship to those emotions has changed. And so you get to choose on what you want to do with what happened to you. So for instance, there was a relationship I was in a decent amount of years ago, and where that person would lock me in closets for a period of time. And thinking about that girl in those closets, I'm so sad for her, and I can quite literally step back into that plane. I can sit with her, I can cry with her, I can feel the full weight of remembering what that experience was like for me, and those emotions are like valid, and like I'm you can feel the full breadth of them, but I'm able to talk about them and not sit here and cry, because it hurts me that that's true for my experience. And also, I have walked through the doldrums of that experience so um acutely that I'm like, damn, that sucks, and I'm so sorry, and that hurt so bad. And now, but my choice, and the choice I'm going to make knowing that that happened, is I want to know truly what it feels like for me to feel strong and powerful and capable, because I didn't feel any of those things, and I would have given anything for that person that I was to be able to feel those things when she was going through that experience. And like, that makes me emotional too. I would have given anything to be able to have her feel strong and capable and powerful, because she didn't. And so now it's like taking those values and saying, how that's the choice I'm making, to live into strong and capable and powerful as often as I can, because I never want to feel like, I want to feel that as often as like as much as I can for as often as I can. Those are core values of my life now, strong and capable in everything that I do. And quite literally, a lot of what I've been able to build in my life has come from the fact that I've readily reminded myself over and over and over again how strong and capable I am in the face of fear. Um, and so it's like this whole experience that you get a choice inside, that if you allow your trauma and the things you've been through to stay with you so deeply, and lend themselves as like supporting characters to the identity that you have, then that's, in my opinion, not the full integration process. And you owe yourself the other side of that. You owe yourself the choice on the other side of that, to say, like, what do I want to do with it now? It's like, here's the choice that I'm making. And then the part where I said how I integrate, like, the choice I made was strong and capable in the face of that trauma, and the activation of those values then became how I lived my life. So it's a 3-step process. It's the belief, it's the awareness of where those triggers come from. Then it's the integration, which is establishing what I'd want to choose instead. And then there's the activation of it all, which is, how do I want to live out those values, so that I'm creating something that's not about my trauma, but it's about my future. It's about my hope. It's about love for this world. It's about my dreams. It's about what I want to create with this life that I've got. And so this was just a really, really powerful uh, visualization and exercise that I went through, because it really allowed me, the distance even between the work that I've been doing in therapy, to say, how is my repeated awareness of, the things that I've been through still holding me back in a way. And I think that that's like a really valuable like distance and question and inquiry to create, because yeah, the things that have happened can shape us, but they still only get to shape us inside of the choices we make about who we are. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've officially just that's my brain for the day. And to go back to what I said in the very beginning, I didn't obviously anticipate talking about all of this in this capacity, but to go back to the beginning, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of self-awareness. These are muscles that most of our society has never engaged with. It is literally like trying to lift a car knowing you've never lifted a dumbbell in your life. Like, and there's no shame in that. We are not raised as a society to have this kind of an awareness, so it's not your fault. And also, if you want to genuinely change your life or change how you think about your life, it is your responsibility. I don't say that lightly. I'm sorry to be the bearer of, tough news, but that's just the truth of it all. If you want to change your life, nobody's coming to save you. No, nobody is going to fight for you, but you are worth fighting for every single day of the week. There's no exception. There's no exception. You deserve to feel seen, heard, and valued, and you don't have to earn any of that. None of it. You are whole and capable and strong and powerful, and whatever you want for your life is there on purpose. And I hope that whether it's with me, whether it's with a therapist, whether it's with another coach, I hope that you are brave enough to go out and find what it is that's, what you're looking for. I hope you're brave enough to do that. Right now, as of right now, I can't speak for by the time that this episode comes out, but as of right now, I'm offering my first 10 initial sessions inside of this new offering that I'm creating called the Soul Alchemy. So it's where I use, coaching and psychosomatic exercises and channeling through in a 45-minute session where we kind of get to the heart of, we get to the bottom of things. We get to what might be blocking you from seeing things in a different way that gives you access to the frequency that you need to embody in order to unblock yourself from getting the life that you want, or, feeling confident that you can have the life that you want. And so right now I'm offering the first 10 sessions of that offer for $50. And then after those 10 sessions are gone, it goes up to $111. I am really excited about this because I think it's the perfect introductory kind of offering for people that aren't used to doing this work in this pointed kind of way. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not intense work at times, but as they say, nothing in life that's worth having comes easy. And I will be there with you every single step of the way. And there is nobody who believes in you more. Well, there might be, but I am alongside that team of people that believe in you because I know that you can, and I know that this is worth doing. It is 100% doing. The biggest relationship, or the most important relationship you ever build, is the one that you have with yourself. And I hope that at the end of everything, whenever that is, you're proud of who showed up. All right, I'm done. I love you so much. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous how much I love you. I will put all the information about the Soul Alchemy session in the show notes. Like we always say on this show, life's gonna throw you for a loop. It's gonna be difficult, but you're never doing it alone. Ever. My inbox is always open. I love you deeply, truly, madly. Savage Garden, but backwards or something. All right, I will see you next time. Like we always say, always stay hungry.